Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday, and welcome to our July week two setup social. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be the only person on camera, the only person talking. So don't worry about it, especially if you're new. You just get to sit back, get comfortable, hang out in the chat, work on your journal, um, drink the coffee or whatever you need to get going this morning. But I will be the on-camera facilitator. I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland, and I am super excited. I do not think I could have a weekend, I feel like, without my Sonder family. And I want to give a huge shout out to my co-facilitator, Jennifer, who is dialing in from Texas. We will forever be Team Texas because I relocated from Texas. But so excited that she is here to join us. We always have a great time, especially on these weekend socials. We love a good weekly setup. And I'm already starting to see some returning socialers, so welcome, especially if you have come before. We saw a couple have their Sonder anniversary with us, so always glad to have you here, glad to have you back. And then let us know if this is your first social. Maybe it's your first social ever, maybe it's your first weekly setup social, maybe it's your first kind of non-journal prompt social, because I feel like those are each unique experiences. And I would say, especially with the setup socials, it can be a little bit of a sensory overload. And that's because you're going to want to try and work in your journal. You're going to want to kind of follow the chat. You want to take the examples from the slides. You're going to listen to music. You're going to hear me talk. So just take a deep breath. Figure out kind of how you want to do it, how you want to work on it, because there is no one grading these. No one is looking over your shoulder to see how much you've done or haven't done. We're just glad that you have come exactly as you are to spend this next hour on what you need today, what you want to work on today, and just being with each and every one of us as we go for this. And then, as always, just to double check, make sure that your chat is set to everyone. If you would like to share with the larger Sonder crowd that's here today, if you just have it on hosts and panelists, that comes to just myself and Jennifer, and we are always willing to help. But already loving seeing all of the new folks. You guys have come at a great time, and we're so excited that you're tackling this with us. As always, we do have some sticker sets that are available. We'll include those links a little bit later. But as a kind of, I would consider myself a former sticker hoarder, which I do still have a lot of them. I have made it a little bit more of an intention to actually use them. Their destiny was to be used. So I am embracing using them a whole lot more. So I encourage you to do it, because nothing has been more magical than the satisfaction of kind of returning to the award component of stickers, and they just make it pretty, they make it happy, they make me smile, and sometimes those are the little things. As always, be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. We ask that you limit repetitive product and accessory questions. The great place for those are in the Silk and Sonder app. And always, when it comes to especially individual account information around Silk and Sonder, we always redirect those customer care inquiries to our team at hello@silkandsonder.com. That is also why you'll sometimes see those in the app, and they will be removed once they are asked, because we don't always want to share those specific informations with everybody. So just keep that in mind. While Jennifer and I have some information, you can certainly provide that feedback to us, and we can certainly flag it for our headquarters team if you feel that you have kind of specific needs or requests that you want to be addressed. And then, as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So while we are here to celebrate all of the wins and acknowledge some of those lows to provide extra support, if you had a day and you're just not in the mood to share, you don't have to. If you want to, we will celebrate that. But it's one of those things, if you have to kind of set up some of those mental barriers or boundaries, because this shouldn't be triggering, this shouldn't be negative. You shouldn't be walking away from these kind of beating yourself up. These should be exciting and optimistic, and an outlook to look at it, that maybe if we didn't do it quite right last week, we can break with perfection and either try something different or do something a little bit better this go around. And so we are still embracing the theme of curiosity this month. And I love this theme. The more I've been working in it, especially with the weekly mind map questions, I love this theme even more, to the point I am seriously considering elevating curiosity to like one of the top like spots on like core values or way to describe myself. That is how much I have been loving curiosity. And so I was starting to get a little bit of an itch when it came to, just being in a little bit of funk. I had a little bit of a low energy. And I realized so much about hand in hand goes with curiosity and almost that kind of adventure. So for me, it had to kind of pivot back to that I am curious about this and giving myself the permission to do it. And that's the like, yes, saying yes to things, saying yes to going on these things. And as always, what I do get excited about is I have been really fortunate to have been able to go out on some of these adventures. I'm kind of living a current adventure by relocating to where I did. And that was, again, just the kind of honestly curiosity of living somewhere. Can I do something elsewhere? Can I function? Can I survive? Can I thrive? And so being able to embrace that, the only question kind of in my life is whether or not you're going to answer with that hearty yes to your adventure. And I feel like that ties so much with me on how I kind of feed some of that curiosity, because much as I would like to, go out and see things, do the tourist things, climb all of the places, do all of those things. I still have to work. I have a, standard 8 to 5, Monday through Friday job. So it doesn't quite feed that like adventure. So there are other ways that I kind of find that and feed that. And I realize that the current books I've been reading aren't kind of feeding that curiosity adventure. So I knew I needed to do a little bit of a shakeup. So I'm definitely going to alter my kind of next reads, just because I like that all immersive kind of thrill, the adventure, those kind of things, especially around curiosity. And so we are going to dive into the curiosity mind map for week 2, the rosebud thorn, as well as the weekly setup pages. And so if you have not done a mind map with us, these are unique to the weekly setup socials. So we will do the mind map as the opening prompt for all of our weekly setup socials. And those are those weekly pages. So you'll have a couple different opportunities as well as a couple different facilitators take on these unique mind maps. So these are not listed in your journal, but you can go to a blank page, which you'll see my example a little bit later, break it up into those 4 different categories because there are 4 different weeks. So we're going to ask kind of 4 different questions under that sense of curiosity of how we can explore and strengthen either our relationship or our excitement or our celebration of curiosity. And as just a little bit of like maybe future disclaimer, I have looked at all 4 of these upcoming, and these are seriously probably my favorite mind map questions that we've had. Just again, I don't know if it's because I'm biased with the theme, but these are all so magical, so amazing. And the fact that we're only on week 2, if you guys aren't participating in these, you come to the right place. You're gonna want to embrace all the things that make you curious, and I love it. So we will include week 1. If you missed that one, we will also include week 2. So week 2, we are focusing on the aesthetic curiosity. And so you can consider a piece of art, music, literature, or other form of creative expression that has captivated you recently. What drew you to it? You can describe the emotions and thoughts it evoked in you. How does exploring aesthetic experiences contribute to your overall well-being and sense of fulfillment? So that is kind of the baseline question. And I've also broken it down into a couple other different questions or a couple other different approaches. So we are exploring how does exploring aesthetic experiences contribute to your overall well-being and sense of fulfillment? And so what does curiosity mean to you as an aesthetic experience? And these absolutely could be specific pieces of art. A specific piece of music, a show done in theater, a literature, so a book, a poem, a combination of those, or any other form of creative expression that really sparked your curiosity or impacted your emotions. You can just kind of dive headlong into those where you kind of always like, is it the dream to see it in person? Is it a dream to experience it? Is it something that you kind of wishfully get excited about, or how do they create it? How did they do it? And learn everything about it. But this also could be an aesthetic you experienced by someone else or one that you created. We have some amazingly talented artists amongst us. So maybe it's something that you've done or something that you were able to be a part of and support along the way. And then another kind of interesting thing that I thought is that do you maybe share these experiences with others, or do you keep it to yourself as kind of almost like that's what makes it special, is kind of that exploring that deeper meaning for you? Is that, curiosity explanation done that you do yourself, or is it something that you eagerly want to share with someone? And then you can always look at what creative outlets do you seek when you need to kind of feed that creative curiosity. And so for me, live theater is my creative love language, and that's musicals. I love them. I love going to the theater. I love experiencing it. And part of it is because I love that collective experience that you have with everybody there. And it's also just the little things of how you kind of get so comfortable in it, but at the same time, like I feel like when I'm really sad or a little low, the first songs I always go to are musical theater soundtracks. They make me happy. It's that kind of reminiscing of the joy that everybody is experiencing, and being able to trigger emotions like that. Oh, I could go on and on about live theater, but I love it. And I also love, especially, I would consider myself a little bit of a snooty theater goer, but I love when children and younger people attend, because there's just that magic of everything that shows up with it. And I feel like it's one of those little things just to ask, what did you think? Did you like it? That is that instant connection. And also the curiosity to figure out why. Why do you love it? What does it help you do? And it almost like it brings all of that continuity together so you can have those joint experiences. So I am going to stop talking. We are working on week 2 mind map, and how does exploring aesthetic experience contribute to your overall well-being and sense of fulfillment. I want to hear all of your creative curiosities in the chat, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. That was just such a fun chat to read because it also builds that just connection of how much we have to those creative outlets. And obviously, in what I included, dance, photography, some of those were there. We saw someone that they make their own soaps. So there is no true definition of what is considered an aesthetic outlet. It's more of what do you see? How does it help you? What is makes you curious? Are you one of those that you want to try and recreate it, or is it more just you feed on those experiences? Because for me, I realized that it is a little bit of a duality. I do have more of a science minded brain, so I like the analytics, I like the technical facts, I like all of those things. And so I that is why I then know that I fully embrace in my hobbies some of the more creative things because that's not how I work, but I love and appreciate all that goes into it. But for me, it's definitely some of those more kind of all immersive experiences. So live music, theater. I do love going to museums, but it's more of like I am happiest at a planetarium or an IMAX kind of incorporated with all those. Same thing with I realized I needed a little bit more of that imagination aesthetic experience when it came to books I was reading. I was dwelling a little bit more into kind of the real world, kind of modern day, and I realized I needed the thing that was going to feed my curiosity at that next go round was going to be something fantasy, something adventure, something like that. So, like I said, I am now a huge fan of all these mind map questions. The next two are also going to be amazing. So if this one hasn't quite kind of hit you, I highly recommend definitely coming back to see the next two because they're also going to be equally amazing. So thank you everybody for sharing and absolutely keep sharing in the chat even as we move to the next prompts. So we are going to move to the rosebud thorn exercise, which is on page 36 in your July journal. This is an opportunity to reflect on the good, the not so good, and everything in between of your week. I use it as certainly a litmus test to feel like what is going on. Was I able to find a rose really quickly? Did I come up with a thorn first and it kind of overpowered that scale of taking up space in my mind? Or was I able to kind of come across all of these a little bit more organically? Because then it's the idea of that we can kind of start, stop, and continue to feed some of those rose buds and thorns so that we can kind of take a little bit control back into kind of our particular week. So a rose is going to be that highlight, a win, something that you did well, something that made you smile, something that made you happy. For me, I actually had a lot of really random meetings at work, and it was, meetings with some higher ups in my company that I wasn't they were sprung on me a little last minute, so I felt slightly underprepared. I had a couple client meetings. I had a couple meetings for my MBA, both with a professor as well as with my group. So I feel like I was kind of bouncing all over the place for these meetings, but I got a lot of satisfaction in actually being prepared for them, walking away going, well, that wasn't what I was expected, but I know I brought what needed to make it a successful meeting. So that was absolutely my rose, which I feel like extremely practical for me usually, but I just wanted to celebrate that I was prepared to do my job that week. And sometimes I don't always feel that way. The bud is an emerging opportunity, something that you're excited about, something that could be, something that's on the horizon. I haven't quite figured out what it's going to be, but maybe if you kind of start something or stop something or continue something, it can turn into either a rose or something else. For me, my bud is my best friend from college. She booked her flight to come out and visit in September. So when we talk about like controlled chaotic adventures, that is she and I. And there's just again that instant bond and instant excitement. So I cannot wait to go and see all the kind of weird quirky things that I've wanted to do because she is absolutely says yes to everything and it's the best combination. So I'm so excited for her to come and visit. The thorn was a challenge, something that didn't go so well, something that was maybe negative, something that you're just having to work through, or something that was just taking up a little bit too much space in your brain so you couldn't focus on maybe some of those other parts, the roses or the buds, because that thorn was just taking up all of the time, energy, and thought. So for me, it was definitely, I was a little bit on the low energy side, not because I was tired. I think it tied into the other seven types of rest. So I'm trying to figure out what that was, but it was more of like, I had a good week, but I just feel meh about the week, kind of, sort of. And it's more of like, I just feel like I did things, but I wasn't all there. So I'm trying to just figure that out. So if you would like to share your rosebud thorn in the chat, we would love to see that. I'm going to turn on some music and we'll see you soon. Thank you everybody for sharing. Loved seeing all the roses and getting really excited about those. But we definitely had some thorns for sure on the health as well as just the weather. I feel like it's one of those you don't always think about it until you're living it. But the weather certainly does have a lot of impacts on maybe our rosebud thorn perspective. So sometimes that's also a good kind of litmus test that you can figure out how to do that. Because if you know that you kind of are easily potentially influenced by the weather, maybe that's how you can then structure your weekly setups to kind of work around kind of the weather that's there. But thank you everybody for sharing. And as always, we love celebrating each and every one of your roses, are getting excited with all of you when it comes to your buds and sending that extra love, support, and thoughts around those thorns. And so we are now going to move into the weekly planner portion. So this is going to be pages 40 and 41 in your July journal. This is the kind of meat, the bigger part of this particular social. And as always, a good way to approach this is asking yourself, what do you need? Because there are going to be times where your week is going to call for you to use the pages exactly as they are written. And then there are going to be times where you need to make some sort of changes or repurpose or modifications to kind of help support what type of week you want to have. So there is no right or wrong way to set up your planner. And because we are breaking up with perfection, it may have seemed like a really good idea today, but come Wednesday or Thursday of the week, you realize that it was not as good of an idea as you thought. You have absolutely permission to change it, pivot, do something a little bit different, change that approach. Because at the end of the day, the best way to approach this is, what do you need for your week? And so we're going to start at the top of page 40 with "This week I want to feel." The way I frame this is, I always ask myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? Because as I'm experiencing the highs and lows and everything in between of that particular week, I want to have a either end goal or something that's going to bring me back to equilibrium, give me that even keel. And so that's kind of that ground truth that I'm always wanting to achieve each week. And so these can be a word, a phrase, a quote, an affirmation. It could be multiple words. It could be a specific definition of a word. It also can be the same word that you used last week or the week before, or it could be your word of the year because you really want to kind of compound into that. It also could be your word of the month. It could be associated with your intentions. It should just be something that is going to resonate with you and that you can kind of take control and ownership of. This week I want to feel, and here are all the pieces we can put together to help support that. So again, sometimes that can be, I want to feel less something or more something. Maybe I just want to feel 1% better. Maybe it's, again, a combination. I'm a big fan of adding the ish or the why to all of those things. They kind of make me happy. Maybe it's multiple words because you need to have a different feeling for each day. Or maybe it's, again, this is a great place for stickers or some sort of doodle or imagery. While I do like the, again, boisterous, for me, sometimes it's, I don't know how I want to feel, but I want to be as happy and content as that manatee with a flower crown. And so that can be kind of the embracing there. So let us know how you want to feel this time next week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I love the intentional optimism and the kind of intentional control that we have with this particular question, especially when it's that kind of way to put out into the universe, this is how I want to feel this time next week. And now we can kind of incorporate some of those other sections of these pages to help support and enforce that. So we are still on page 40, and these can be your weekly major three goals, your weekly minor three goals. These could just be three goals. Maybe it's two goals, maybe it's a goal, or maybe these are just the three things you want to accomplish so that you can feel the way you want to feel this time next week. For me, these tend to be a little bit more on the mental and emotional reminders for me. So they tend to be a little less of the things and more of the like ideas of how I want to feel the way I want to feel this time next week. But other approaches is you can use categories. So maybe you have a professional goal, a mind goal, a body goal, a mind, body, soul goal. Maybe again, it's just the one, two, three things you want to do. Another great place for stickers. We also love the play on alliteration. So maybe you want to be productive, peaceful, and powerful. And here's kind of those reminders there. Maybe it's a frog, fun, and fierce. Or it's also a way to connect those three specific categories or three different goals directly to your to-do list, as you see in the bottom example. The bingo boards, I feel like, are definitely a Silk and Sonder staple if you want to embrace that, at least on the gamification there. And you can certainly repurpose each of these sections kind of for that, because maybe your bingo board looks a little bit better with the grid squares instead of just the blank squares. And so you can always change any of these. Maybe it's not a goals, but maybe it's more of a self-care goal or a routine goal that you want to focus on. Or maybe these are goals that you want to stop doing. Stop the negative talk, stop the mindless scrolling, stop eating out, as a way to kind of look at those as like a less of almost like a tongue-in-cheek spin on the idea of achievement of goals. Or again, it can be a learn, leap into, or let go. So I would love to hear how your goals are. Are they just the three things you want to focus on? Are there three things you want to do? Are you a categories person? Or do you pull maybe some of your intentions that you set earlier this month to focus on each week as a particular goal to get that done? Let us know in the chat, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I loved seeing the embracing the theme of curiosity. Catherine mentioned that she usually keeps the same goals, but was going to kind of add that questioning, curiosity spin to it, which I think is great. And again, sometimes I feel like these are just great reminders, kind of how you want to feel the way you want to feel this time next week, or at least just another way to kind of focus in on specifically what you think you need to achieve in order to feel the way you want to feel this time next week. We are still going to be on page 40, shifting over to the weekly to-dos. And so these can be weekly to-dos, these can be to-dos, these can be the Eisenhower matrix. This particular section for me definitely changes week to week, just because the uniqueness of my to-do list changes on a week to week. I am a to-do person because I love the celebration aspect of the to-dos. It really makes me happy. But there are times where I definitely need help on the prioritization aspect of my to-do list. And so I will pull in the Eisenhower matrix, which is the do, decide, delegate, or delete. But because I live alone, delegation can be a little tricky, and I don't delete anything. I usually delay something. And then delegation, I actually have had to delegate a lot of the maintenance things that I would normally pride myself in being able to do, because I don't have the time, I don't have the skill set, and things are just a little bit different over here. And same thing with, there are days where I am a little bit too tired to cook, clean, and all of those things. So I absolutely embrace takeaway or dining out every once in a while. So that becomes a really easy thing to delegate. You can also use the Pomodoro technique. That can be really great, just to tackle and set aside time there, as well as if you maybe have some tasks that have multiple steps. Sometimes it also is just a prioritization component. And so maybe you just need to label or recategorize something with it: call, errands, follow up, or schedule. Or maybe it's a need, want, hope. Or maybe it's a need and a want. I also liked the idea of, hey, don't do this instead. So it's kind of that duality of, I know these are what I want to do, but maybe here's a way I can kind of do the things that I probably need to do. And same thing with maybe if you had a little bit of a tricky time finding some of those roses, maybe you want to track kind of those happy thoughts. Maybe it is just an overall reminder of the weekly to-bes. And again, another gamification component of it, if you include all of your to-do lists to reach the top of your pyramid so that you can feel the way you want to feel this time next week. And again, another great place for a bingo, a weekly win. Maybe these are, again, those kind of tongue-in-cheek reminders to not do these things. Or someone is incorporating those Post-it notes so that they can carry some of their to-dos across multiple weeks, as a kind of a way to do that. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't be beating yourself up because you're carrying something over from week to week. Maybe it just required a little bit of a prioritization to it. Or maybe you just realized that so much of what you thought you had control over that week didn't happen. And that's okay, because then you can make some adjustments either as you go through the week or for that next week. So I would love to hear how you all tackle your to-do lists, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I loved seeing everyone's approaches to this because I feel like sometimes when it comes to to-do lists, it can just be a subtle change of your either approach or the intentionality behind it, or even just kind of the mentality behind it. And I feel like those have been really helpful, especially for me to approach my to-do list, knowing that I may need to change it up every now and then, just to make sure that I'm there to do that. So I loved all of the kind of embracing the curiosity of maybe if I change something a little bit different, I can maybe achieve something a little bit different. So thank you everybody for sharing. And now we are at the bottom of page 40 with those habits and activities, or as Maya has lovingly referred to them as habities. The habities here are a way that you can incorporate your monthly habit tracker to this, and there are a couple different ways to do that. I know some folks will bring a couple of their habits from their monthly tracker over to it for their weekly. I'm one of those people that does that. I have like the same 3 habits and activities that I track every single week as a creature of habit, but then I add the lens of reality over that, and that's going to be based on workload, what other habities I am embracing, maybe outside of those less than fun habits and activities that I need to do, or the things that I want to do. And same thing with, again, bringing in the weather, because there are times where I definitely had a little bit different expectation and was inconveniently rained out with those expectations. So I do like to add that lens of realizing that I can set myself up for a little bit more success if I give myself a little bit of flexibility. We also have individuals that will try out new habits and activities in their weekly to then see if they are, good enough to get graduated to the monthly habit tracker. And then I also know that it's also a great way to kind of check in with your journal or some of those kind of long-term mid-range goals there. It's definitely one of those, you can certainly write in, check in with your habit tracker, check in with your mood tracker, check in with a journal prompt, check in with those intentions and reflections. It is a way to provide those healthy reminders that maybe are outside the to-do lists, so that you can track that. But these can also be things that are less on the tangible side. Maybe it's just the reminders to spend time outside, listen to upbeat music, be kind to yourself, acceptance of yourself. And it also can be a great place for just stickers and the acknowledgement of, I don't want to track any of these things this week because maybe you're on vacation, maybe you have visitors, or maybe you're not feeling well and you just need to focus on getting better. So you can certainly not include those in there. Or maybe you don't need to use all 5. Maybe it's more of you have 2 or 3 habits and activities that you want to work on or focus on. Maybe again, it's you're coming off of a week where you weren't feeling great. And so your first thing is just to get better and keep getting better. And then I also like the idea that it can be broken down into what the work days look like and what the traditional weekends look like. So you can make those adjustments because we know that usually those days and your weekends look a little bit different. So being able to kind of add that in as those reminders to, again, make sure we're managing our expectations with what can we actually achieve. And then you guys know I am a sucker for the iconography that can be associated with this. So shout out to the Instagram account Positively Present if you want to incorporate some other things on like a July to-do list. And these, I think, again, are less of those tangible things and more of those really exciting kind of things to just acknowledge and add just as kind of that breath of fresh air or a little bit of that like kind of exhale. And then I am a big fan of sustainability just in the fact, so I love incorporating, these are the US July produce that are in season, so they tend to be a little bit easier to access, as well as fun ways to incorporate them as a way to kind of embrace the month, embrace the season, especially if you're on a particular healthcare journey. And this one, I think, again, maybe it's my favorite because I'm all about the theme this month, but I love the all of a sudden the fruit has come to the party. I feel like they wait a little late, but they are here, and you can certainly especially embrace eating that rainbow, particularly in the month of July. So let us know what habits and activities you are working on, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your habits and activities. Love seeing the kind of different variety of how you can use this and incorporate it. So definitely embrace the theme this month to kind of try out something new, something different, and see kind of where it gets you. So now we're going to turn over to page 41, and these particular sections tend to get repurposed often. And so I'm going to go through kind of all of the examples and then put on some music and go back to the beginning, so don't worry. So for the meal plan, you can use it absolutely as a meal plan, or maybe it's more of a real-time meal tracker. If you had a little bit of a tricky time to find those roses, maybe this is where you track kind of one good thing for the day. Maybe this is a better place for your to-do list to incorporate some of those meetings or appointments. Maybe it's more of a meal plan for the soul, so you can incorporate some of those journal prompts or journal reflection opportunities. And you can certainly use the theme for the month to kind of ask some of those kind of probing questions. Maybe it's just your priority list, or a great place to put the affirmations that are in the Silk and Sonder app and kind of embrace some of that creative curiosity of trying, new markers, new pens, new stickers, new even writing styles. It can also be used as a clothing planner. I think it's great for sure for the summer as you're packing. We also have some amazingly creative individuals, so they do a different haiku each day, or again, embracing a different word for the day as a reflection component. We also have the Mind Body Health Plan that tends to get repurposed, and definitely going to give a shout out to Nathania in the chat, because she has this wonderful one that's the I feel and I need. She uses at the beginning of the day to reflect, this is how I feel and this is what I need, as kind of a way to, kind of embrace what the day looks like, but also maybe make some changes so that you can get what you need based on the way you feel. Maybe this is also, again, a highlight of the day. Maybe it's a particular routine or a particular thing you want to focus on. So maybe you want to unplug for an hour and this is how you're going to do it. Loved the iconography of I thrive when all the pieces come together. So kind of a version of a bingo board, or just the things you want to embrace. I saw that someone was looking into the 7 types of rest. So maybe this is how you incorporate some of that. Again, you can also use it as a chore log, reading log, kind of guidance there. And then we get to the shopping list, which can go hand in hand with the meal plan, or it can be repurposed. As I said, those bingo boards will show up in just about every section. And so the way you can incorporate those, pick your bingo theme. I know they can be a just for fun, celebrate the wins, the boring stuff bingo. I know Jennifer has used it as birthday bingos, or any sort of kind of holiday bingos. Maybe it's where you more have your self-care reminders or your daily rituals. Maybe it's a social check-in to make sure that you're checking in with all of those individuals in whatever kind of form or fashion that suits you. Maybe it's a don't buy, a buy, and or maybe it's just ideas for kind of how to kind of go through your day. So I'll give you some time to work on this, and we will see you soon. thank you everybody for sharing. And then because we are about midway through the month, I always recommend definitely tackling that currently page. I know it can be a little intimidating because there really aren't any instructions and it's a big blank page. So many opportunities and potential, but I love this because it's another kind of just reflection and it tells a really wonderful story. Especially I'm one of those that do it at the beginning, the middle, and the end of each month because there are 3 lines. But it tells a really good, again, story for that particular month. And it is just an opportunity to acknowledge what you're loving, what you're feeling, what you're enjoying, what you're anticipating, wishing, reading, watching, and planning. And so I think it is just a really fun page. And sometimes you definitely need a break for some of those, a palate cleanser for some of those journal pages. So this one's always a great midway checkpoint. And as always, the I am loving section is at the bottom, and that's another place to just put out there the things that are making you happy, the things that are making you smile. As again, when you maybe hit a little bit of a low or find one of those thorns, this is certainly a great way to mend those particular thorns. And so being able to just acknowledge those, I think, is great. But with that being said, please, we would love to see your weekly planner pages in the app, as well as enjoy continuing the conversation over there. As you can see, a lot of the inspiration and amazing things that we have that we get from each and every one of you. And with that being said, can you believe that we are done? We have reached the end of this social. Thank you everybody for joining us. Here are some of those QR codes, and don't worry, you will get a follow-up email because not all of the links are currently working with some of the upgraded Zoom updates, especially if you are on your cell phone. But you'll be able to see all of those in the follow-up email. We will also include that YouTube link, so if you have to show up late, have to leave early, or cannot fit a social at the scheduled time into your routine, you can always revisit them. We have a ton in there, so you can see multiple facilitators, multiple topics, and it's a great way to play catch up. Here is the copy of the playlist that I did. I will also include the Spotify link in the chat. But thank you everybody for joining us on this lovely Saturday. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your weekend. You are going to have an amazing week. And I am so excited to see you at a future event where we can continue to explore this amazing theme of curiosity. So stay curious, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Spread my wings and let go. Something stirring in my soul. I feel it again, feel it again, feel it again, feel it again. Unlock the cage and free my heart. This is where the journey starts. Now it begins, now it begins, now it begins, now it begins. This is gonna be a good day. Rolling on like the thunder, with open eyes, full of wonder. It's a good day. It's a good day to be alive. Spinning fast, the wheels keep turning. Every night is a new morning. It's a good day. It's a good day to be alive. It's a good day to be alive. It's a good day to be alive. I was born to breathe the air and take a road that goes nowhere. I'm ready to live, ready to live, ready to live, ready to live. Like a dove I fly away. Now's the time, today's the day. Now it begins, now it begins, now it begins, now it begins. This is gonna be